Well, hi everyone. This is a different sort of program. Really is. We're sitting in the offices of one of our founders, Mark Looy. In fact, Mark and I and Mike Zobath came out from California 26 years ago. Yeah, it will be this year.
We both had dark hair and much more of it back then.
At least I still have hair. Anyway, Mark was one of the founders, and I met Mark in the 80s when I first came over to America. We're overlooking the pond here at the Creation Museum and the petting zoo in the back there. But Mark wanted to do this program. I'm the victim in this program. He wanted to interview me. I don't know what about, but he wants to find out all sorts of personal stuff about me and put it out there publicly, apparently. And I don't even know what the questions are. I really don't. So, the first time I ever met Mark was in El Cajon,
California.
California, the San Diego area. He was sort of working at a radio station, Christian radio station, sort of a one-man station that he manned. Sort of like the Wizard of Oz, turning all the knobs and everything. He was sort of like that, in the days of reel to reel. It was in some dingy area, Australian word, dingy area, drug-infested part of El Cajon.
You're going to get a letter from the mayor.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a rundown area. Anyway, okay, so Mark wants to interview me. So, as I said, I'm the victim. Feel sorry for me. Okay, Mark, what do you want to ask me?
Yeah, he's doing this under fear and trepidation. I only told him that I was going to do a lightning round of questions with you. And I just gave you a sample last night, what favorite place do you have in America if you'd like to visit. So other than that, Ken has no idea what I'm going to ask him here, but I'm going to ask you to give short answers, but there's
Okay.
some that you might want to elaborate on.
Short answers? Me? Give short answers?
I mean, it takes him 20 minutes to say hello and give his name.
I'm not sure
most of
how I
his
can
talks.
do that. Short answers. Okay, what do you call short? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Maybe 5 to 10 words on many of these, but some I'll ask you to elaborate.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So we
Okay.
just want people to get to know Ken a little bit better and his background and his hobbies and tastes. So, obvious question here. Outside of the book of Genesis, what's your favorite book of the Bible?
The Bible is one book. We shouldn't think of the Bible as separate books. You shouldn't. It's God's book to us. So the whole book.
You're going to be difficult with me here. I asked for a
No,
specific book of the
But
Bible.
that is true. That is true. The Bible should always be looked on as a whole. It's the inspired, infallible Word of God. You didn't know I was going to answer that way, did you? But it is true. It is one book. It shouldn't ever be seen as separate books.
Now, knowing Ken for almost 35 years, maybe 40 years, I thought you might say the book of Colossians, a single book of the Bible, because there's a lot about creation in there.
No, the book of Romans is really the gospel in detail. And, that is the depth of understanding the saving gospel. But my favorite book is the Bible.
Okay, I was able to squeeze an answer out there, but we'll go on here. What about a favorite Bible teacher you've had over the years?
Well, of course, my favorite Bible teacher would be my father,
I knew that.
right?
Yeah.
Other than my father, I must admit, I think my favorite Bible teacher, other than my father, would be Martin Lloyd-Jones, Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones. He was the expositional preacher of the 20th century there in London. And you can get all of his sermons online. My wife and I often get one of the sermons from the Martin Lloyd-Jones Trust. They even have an app, and they're free. And you can go and download them, or you can just listen to them. And incredible, just amazing preacher. We just don't hear many preachers like that today, but such depth. I don't agree with everything you said, by the way, but most things.
Yeah, and for those people who might be watching the UK, they might come back and say, well, he taught in London, but I think he was originally from Wales, wasn't he?
He was originally from Wales. Westminster Chapel in London is where he taught, that famous series on Romans. And I've actually visited there, stood in the pulpit where he stood, and actually seen his robe and the Bible he preached from. So it's fascinating. He actually spoke there. We did a seminar there a number of years ago.
Now, as we think internationally, over your right shoulder, and it might be a little bit difficult to pan, you've traveled all over the world, rarely for vacation, mostly for ministry. But in the United States, what's your favorite destination, a place that you may go to teach, but you also enjoy the beauty of the area?
You know, for security reasons, I cannot divulge that.
But if you send me an email, I'll tell you.
But I would say our favorite place, I mean, we lived in San Diego for 7 years in the Santee area. We loved San Diego, that's true. But I think our favorite place would be Jackson, Wyoming. And seeing
Which would include Yellowstone just to the north.
Yellowstone and the Tetons. We love the Tetons. In fact, I have a big picture of the Tetons in our house. So, yeah, Jackson,
And
Wyoming.
I know you love Alaska too. There's something grandeur about it.
That's a long way away.
All right. Now, in terms of anywhere in the world that you've visited, what has struck you in terms of beauty as a part of God's creation?
Well, I have to say in Australia.
You know, I'm going to have to preface some of my questions with excluding Australia. Give me
Well,
your
no, you
favorite.
can't exclude Australia. Australia's part of the world. The Great Barrier Reef, absolutely astounding, astonishing. I mean, I've seen the reef in other parts of the world, you know, where they have ability to do some snorkeling and so on, and you see some coral reef and that, but there's nothing like Australia.
Okay, what about places like Scotland? I know you've been there and you enjoyed the beauty.
Yeah, Inverness. Yeah, and I actually was able to see the monster.
Okay, you know that non-Christians are watching this right now,
Loch
all ready
Ness.
to pounce.
Yeah.
You going to elaborate a little bit more?
Well, it was on a movie in a local museum that they don't know what it was. But we did drive around the lake.
Okay.
It is beautiful there in Scotland, that is true.
Okay, now let's get to some lightning round questions.
Okay, right.
Really, really quick here. In fact, we were talking about Australia. And Australians, of course, love, you say Vegemite or Vegemite?
Vegemite.
Okay, there's also a counterpart called Marmite. Of course, your favorite is between the two?
There's not even a contest there. I mean, Vegemite is the original exotic food in the world. Salt and yeast. I mean, all the sludge left over from the breweries, you know, got to do something with it, make it into a food. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, it's a spread, a sandwich spread, very salty.
Well, yeah, actually, if you put butter on
Toast.
a cracker,
Yeah.
and then you put Vegemite on it, and then I'll tell you what, if you're not used to Vegemite, and you're an American, you don't have an acquired taste like we Australians do, then you put a slice of cheese on it.
Cheddar cheese.
No, it doesn't have to be cheddar
Yes,
cheese.
it does.
No, it doesn't.
See,
No.
I'm a connoisseur of this stuff
You're
too.
a connoisseur.
I prefer, the reason I bring this
The
up,
emphasis
that
is connoisseur because he likes Marmite. Marmite is like sludge.
emphasis on the word sewer in connoisseur is what you're
Yes.
trying to say.
Exactly.
But I spent some time in Canada, so I've got a preference for Marmite over Vegemite. But
Okay.
they're similar.
Everyone has their little problems. In
All right,
life.
another thing here.
Okay.
These are Tim Tams, or Royals, from Australia, and
Yeah.
then Cherry Ripe. What would you choose between these two?
Well, I wouldn't choose. You know, Cherry Ripe is my favorite candy, but not that one because that's the dark chocolate one.
It's double coated dark.
No, we like the ordinary ones, not the double coated ones. So, the regular Cherry Ripe would be my favorite.
Over these. These are biscuits, right?
Yeah, they're not Tim Tams.
They're not?
No.
That's what I ordered from the store.
Yeah, but they're not Tim Tams.
Okay, close enough for this
No.
interview's purposes.
No. Tim Tams are done so that you can put them in a, you know,
Dip them in coffee.
coffee, and then you can suck it through them. And
Okay, that's more information that I think we
Okay.
need to know.
all right.
Favorite ice cream flavor here at Grader's, which is a string of ice cream parlors throughout northern Kentucky and Cincinnati.
Well, you know, since we've been selling ice cream at the Creation Museum and the Ark, that's become my favorite place for ice cream.
How politically correct is that? Okay, your favorite flavor at Grader's.
How about my favorite flavor of ice cream?
Okay, if you're going to be difficult, you know,
My favorite flavor of ice cream is coconut.
they have a good one there with chocolate chips.
Well, yeah, but they ruin it. They put chocolate in it. So if I buy a scoop of ice cream, I have to pick out the chocolate so I can eat the coconut
This
ice
is the
cream.
man who likes chocolate cherry ripes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Favorite,
chocolate shouldn't be in ice cream.
favorite ethnic food, and you can't say Chinese or Australian.
can't say Chinese or Australian. Why not Chinese?
Because I know what you're going to say, and I want a different answer than
Well, no,
Which
my
one
wife's
would it
favourite ethnic food is Chinese
Right.
because her great-grandfather was actually Chinese. Did you know that?
yes, I did.
Yeah, so our kids are actually a mixture of Chinese, English, German,
Irish.
Irish. Yeah, yeah. So, because my grandparents on my mother's side came from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, Belfast.
On my father's side, going back, I don't know how many generations, 2, 3 generations, they came from Cornwall in England. And my wife's mother's side goes back to Germany. And my wife's father's side, China. How's that?
Okay, that's
So-
a mongrel mix right
Yeah,
there.
no, what it really means is that kids have a great mix of genetics.
Favorite
what-
television show?
I
in
didn't
this-
answer the question.
No, because I thought you might go for Thai
Well, Thai is up there. That is true. Thai is up there.
and Middle Eastern.
And Middle Eastern's up there. But you know, we lived in San Diego for 7 years.
Oh,
And in San Diego, living there for 7 years, when I first came over there, I'd never heard of salsa. And the first time I ate it, I thought I was going to die. It was hot salsa. But I got to acquire a taste for Mexican food and fish tacos.
you know, I was the first one to have you go to that restaurant there on Mission Gorge Road in
Yeah, it was a
Santee,
hole in the walls place.
and it was wonderful food
Yep.
there. So Mexican.
I love Mexican food
Your
and
favorite
Thai food.
your favorite television show in the 60s or 70s?
Favorite television show? Wow. I mean, Doctor Who. I
You-
mean, what else could you say?
Did you actually watch Doctor Who in the 1960s, or did you watch reruns?
Mark, I've watched all the series of the old series of Doctor Who. The new series, I don't watch the new ones anymore because now they're pushing all those political agendas and so on. Very sad, but
All
no,
of them.
no, of course I did.
And you're boasting about that?
Absolutely.
I thought you might
That
say
was
Get Smart. Or,
No, that was quality science fiction. Get Smart's up there too.
I mean, it's like 2 levels above Doctor
Get
Who.
Smart's, I mean, 99 and 86. See, 86 reminded me of myself.
Agent 86.
Yeah,
Maxwell Smart.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would. That's how I would be if I was a spy, just like that. I identified with him.
He was actually kind of a bumbler.
He was funny.
He was funny, okay. And you
Yeah.
like to be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorite place to visit in Cincinnati?
Favorite place to visit in Cincinnati? Our home.
You don't live in Cincinnati. That's why I didn't say Northern
It's the
Kentucky.
Cincinnati area.
I said Cincinnati.
Yeah, but I added area. So, favorite place to visit in Cincinnati? Well, one of our favorite places to visit is in Dayton. Air
Okay,
Force
see, you're
Museum.
not answering my questions here.
The Air
You're going to
Force-
say the Air Force Museum up there, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
In Cincinnati, is there any where, well, you know, we like to go to Amish country, like to go and visit Buddy Davis. Well, that's not Cincinnati.
That's 3 hours
That's
from
Ohio.
Cincinnati.
That's Ohio.
This is the toughest Q&A I've ever done with Ken, and we've done hundreds over the years.
Cincinnati. Well, one of our favorite restaurants is in Cincinnati. No, not a restaurant?
Okay, let's keep going here.
I'm trying to think. What is there in Cincinnati?
Well, the zoo is pretty nice, although it has evolutionary content, and the
Well, that's
museum
true.
center.
That's true. We do like to visit the zoo. That's true.
You see, I'm trying to encourage people to come visit us at the Ark and the museum because there's other things to do in this area. That's why I
That's
asked
true.
the
Our
question. about-
grandkids like to go to the zoo,
Yeah.
but they love the Ararat Ridge Zoo at the Ark.
At the Ark County.
Yeah.
In fact, that leads me to my next question here.
Yeah.
What is your favorite exhibit or section of the Ark?
My favorite exhibit My favorite exhibit at the Ark is the Ark. I mean, that's obvious. The Ark is an exhibit in itself. It's iconic. So obviously the answer has to be the Ark.
I was hoping you'd get a little more specific than that.
You want inside the Ark?
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite exhibit inside the Ark? Well, they're all my favorite exhibit. Because they're all fantastic.
You should run for politics. You just can't give me a good answer, can you?
To run for politics, I'd have to answer something like, well, yes, I can see that what you're asking there is certainly a question that I can give you an answer as we consider the aspects of when we walk through the Ark and consider all of the exhibits and look at the quality.
Okay.
And so
That's gobbledygook. Give me an answer.
see,
You're a very good
I
politician.
could run for governor.
Yeah.
Think I should?
Don't. That's a loaded question right now.
Well, I do love the living quarters on the third deck.
I agree.
They are absolutely astounding in quality. I love those.
And here at the Creation Museum, what is your favorite exhibit?
My favorite exhibit at the Creation Museum, really, it's the Christ Cross consummation section. That's what the ministry is all about. The ministry is all about the gospel. And I love the artwork in there and the message that's there. So,
If I gave you...
and the planetarium, I love that too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we had a family member go through there a few years ago and came out with tears. They thought the program was so magnificent in glorifying God and His
I
word.
heard they came out with tears because they saw you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a few more minutes here, more
I'm
questions.
divulging all this personal information. This is going to go public. I'm worried about this.
Yeah, I hope we can do some editing, Maria. Can we afterwards? If I gave you a $10 Kroger gift card, which for me is a lot of money, and you went to the store just a few miles down the road, what's the one thing you would purchase with that $10 gift card?
Actually, the first thing I do is give it to my wife because I don't go into the stores to buy stuff. She does. I don't like
They
shopping.
do have a Starbucks in there, though.
They do have a Starbucks in there, but with all the things that Starbucks are supporting lately, we've been supporting a local coffee place instead. So I'm boycotting them, sort of. I mean, depends on the need at the time for caffeine.
Yeah, but you're not addicted, right? You don't have to have it.
No, otherwise I'd probably go and buy cheese. I love cheese.
What kind of cheese?
All sorts of cheese.
Come on, be specific.
Smoked cheese.
Gouda?
Smoked Gouda.
Okay, there we go.
Send me
Nice,
some
we agree
smoked
there.
Gouda. Okay.
Being more serious here, what's been the most thrilling moment of AIG's 26 years?
Oh, the most thrilling moment? When you went away on vacation overseas and I didn't see you for 3 weeks? You mean that moment?
That was more thrilling
No, it
for
was 6
me
weeks.
to be
It
away.
was 6 weeks, wasn't it? Wasn't it 10 weeks? Didn't you
Yeah.
go to a monastery? And
No. I took a little sabbatical for health
Oh.
reasons, and I went to the Austrian Alps.
I thought you became a monk in a monastery at the Austrian Alps
And what did I
to
do?
be isolated from the world.
What did I do with my wife? Put her on nunnery?
I don't know.
You keep telling that story, and it has just about one little kernel of truth in it.
I think it will be the day we open the Creation Museum.
Same here.
And the reason is because the burden for the Creation Museum goes back to my teaching days, back to 1979, in fact. And then in 1980, when I and a board member in Australia prayed for a Creation Museum, because that was my burden, because having seen the students go through all these evolutionary museums when I was a teacher, and the Lord gave me a burden for a Creation Museum. And then when we came to the States, I still had that burden. And then instead of returning to Australia, I know I talked to you about it, and you knew about it, the burden for a Creation Museum. And we moved here to Northern Kentucky, the three of us, 3 families, specifically to start the Ministry of Answers in Genesis, but to build the Creation Museum. And when that opened in 2007, May 2007,
Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend, I'd say that's the highlight, because that's the burden that the Lord gave me. And everything else, even the ark, is sort of, well, it comes out of that vision. But the vision for the Creation Museum, that opening was the climax in a way.
Toughest time at AIG in 26 years.
Toughest time at AIG in 26 years. Oh, we've had some tough times.
Red Sea moments, as you call them.
Well, there's been a lot of Red Sea moments, but we've had a lot of attacks too, and we've had to be in court a few times dealing with issues, and I think the biggest attacks are those that really come from people. The personal attacks, they're the hardest ones to deal with. But, Red Sea moments, so many of them over the years, where you're there on the edge of the Red Sea, so to speak, and the Egyptians, like the Philistines, we have modern-day Philistines who oppose us, but they're there behind you. You've got nowhere to go unless the Lord opens the way. You're going to be trapped, and what's going to happen? When we were building the Creation Museum, we got to a stage where we had a cash flow issue and we needed like $3 million immediately, or we wouldn't have been able to open that year. And then how do you survive through to the next year, keeping things going? And we didn't know what to do. And suddenly a bank contacted us, a local bank, community bank, because one of our supporters had talked to them and they had a board of Christians, and they arranged for that cash flow for us immediately. It was just amazing. That was a miracle. There's been many miracles like that over the years.
Right. What's the number one misconception that perhaps secularists and atheists have about you?
Well, I've read a lot of their nasty comments. By the way, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that Christians have is they've been brainwashed by people to think that we're saying if you don't believe in 6 literal days in young earth, you can't be a Christian. And I don't see that as much now because we have really hammered away at that to help people understand that's simply not true. Salvation is conditioned upon faith in Christ. But we are dealing with a biblical authority issue, which is why we talk about, the age of the earth and so on. But as far as atheists are concerned, I'm in it for the money. I hear that all the time from the atheists. Ken Ham is in it for the money. And then they use some nasty names about me, all sorts of nasty names. What have you seen? I mean, you've read a lot of the stuff.
By the way, I've been to your house. You don't live in a mansion. It's just
No.
like a regular house in
We only
the
own
area.
one house, sort of.
And you don't have, homes overseas or anything.
No, nothing. This ministry has been our life, It really has.
Well, the misconception that Christians have about you is what you just said, that I remember even a well-known national radio broadcaster claimed to his national audience that AIG believes that to be saved you have to believe in 6 literal days of creation.
I've never said that in my entire life.
Well, we say the opposite in many places throughout the ministry. All right, Ken, a few more questions here because we're over 20 minutes. If, heaven forbid, there's a fire at your home and you had to retrieve one thing, and assuming that your wife is safely out.
I was just going to say it was going to be my wife.
I knew that. But what one thing would you take from the house to make sure it was safe as the firefighters arrived?
Well, I don't know whether my wife would agree with me. To me, it'd be my
Would it be
computer.
I thought it might be Vegemite.
No, it'd be my computer because my whole life's work is on my computer.
Well, assume the
Everything.
computer is at work.
Assuming
you had to
it's
rush home.
It's never at work. Well, only when I am.
Yeah.
I would never leave.
But
it
you're
alone.
rushing from work to home, so your computer is safe.
Well, probably my iPhone, because otherwise I'd have an emotional breakdown if I didn't have my
But you
phone.
have your iPhone on you. I'm trying to get something personal. What would you retrieve of some personal interest?
Oh, some personal interest.
Something of sentimental value, maybe.
The Bible tells us the things of this world aren't going to last. So how can you have anything that you want to?
Okay. I've had about 5 or 6 questions that have been difficult to get a straight answer out of you.
I don't know. Our wedding photo?
There we go. That's what I was fishing for.
It'd have to be something associated
Something
with my wife.
romantic.
It'd have to be.
Okay, very quickly now. When
Okay.
you saw Mally for the first time, was there's nothing like love at first sight, but infatuation?
No, it was love at first sight.
No, you
No,
can't have that.
she knew straight away that I was it, and I knew straight away she was it. She'll tell you that.
Okay, that was infatuation. That
No,
was
no,
not
it was-
love.
no.
Love means commitment towards a person.
No, it was actually predestination.
Oh, boy. You've been reading too much Martin Lloyd-Jones.
We were
I think.
predestined to meet.
You met in church, right?
Yeah, we did meet in church. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, she was at the church door handing out hymn books, because in that church they had a little competition each year amongst the young people, and it was a Methodist church, and it was in a suburb called Sunnybank, and so they had this, like Miss Australia. Well, this was Miss Sunnybank Methodist, and Mally won, which was obvious why. I mean, and I walked in there, and she was handing out the hymn books. And she looked at me and said, "I'm going to marry you." And I looked at her and said, "She's chasing after me. I can tell that."
She actually said those words, "I'm going to
Well,
marry
no,
you."
I could read it in her
You
eyes.
just read it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, wrapping up here. Easier to raise, sons or daughters? You have 5 children.
They're all difficult.
I need an answer, please.
Well, Sons or daughters, easier
Yes.
to raise.
I've never seen you hem and haw as much as I have in the last 20 minutes.
Well, I know. I've been away a lot over the years. My wife has spent the most time with them. She'll probably tell you the daughters are the... Well, no, but she has a close relationship with it. Well, they're all different. Well, I'm not sure.
Okay, Mr. Politician. Grandkids over 17, is that what I hear?
Number 18 is on the way, yep.
All right.
As of this date, yep.
Okay.
Number 18.
Maybe the last question.
We do have one grandchild that is unique amongst a lot of them.
He got married recently.
No, not that one. No,
No.
I'm talking about little Lexi,
Oh, yeah.
Lexiana.
She's a spark plug.
She is a spark plug. Our security head here calls her ping pong, because when we take her to the Ark of the Museum, it's like dong, 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 dong.
Bouncing back and
Yes,
forth.
so he has to have one security person just for her.
Yeah.
She is a sweetie, though. She's the one that put down the window when I was taking the grandkids through the car wash.
Oh, I would pay good money to see that video.
And I got covered in soap.
More seriously here, your mother passed away a few months ago, and I got to know her a little bit. What is your lasting memory of your mother and then your father from 25 years ago is when he passed?
Well, my mother, she was so devoted to my father and devoted to her children, and she would pray for us every day, and she would always tell me that. But she'd always remind us that it's only what's done for Jesus at last. I hear her saying that all the time. It's only what's done for Jesus at last. And when she ended up in a nursing home because of her health, and she couldn't even walk, couldn't even get herself out of bed or anything, she ended up in one of these homes. They looked after her. It was wonderful. And, of course, family visited her all the time, almost lived there with her. But she couldn't have any material goods there, a couple of photos on the wall. And she said, I'm down to just about nothing from material from our life. And my father had a little bit of retirement that enabled her to, eat and be able to have her daily living. So she didn't have much. And she said when she was ready to go to be with the Lord that, you see, none of that matters. What matters the most is the Lord, because you can't take anything with you. And I remember her cooking, because she loved to cook me lamingtons.
And lamb.
Oh, yeah, she would cook roast lamb. But for the last number of years when we went to Australia, she would hand me a plate of lamingtons. They're a cake. They're covered in chocolate and coconut, and Australian cake. And she would give me a plate and say, I made you some lamingtons. I think it'll be the last lot you'll ever get from me. Oh. And then we came back the next year. I made you some lamingtons. They're the last lot you'll ever get from me. I think that happened for 10 years.
Sweet lady. You said your father was a great teacher, perhaps the greatest influence on your life. What specific memory do you have about your father, Melvin?
My father reminds me of Nehemiah when you read about righteous anger. And I don't want people to misinterpret that. It wasn't anger, righteous anger. So when he would see someone in the church teaching something was opposite to what the Bible was saying, or compromising the Bible, or teaching a local flood instead of a global flood, or see a book written by a Christian that didn't stand on the authority of the Word of God, he would have that righteous anger and challenge them and teach us as kids to never compromise God's Word.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about June 8th and the reopening of the Ark in the museum?
Well, of course, we're very excited. It'd be, over 10, obviously. But you know what? We've been through many valleys in this ministry, and we've been on tops of many mountains. And this is a valley we're still going through, really. And even for the reopening, we just know there's going to be all sorts of struggles and problems, and we're still not sure what's going to be happening across this nation. And, not knowing that future, I guess I keep telling myself God's in control. And I've tried to, as one of my friends said, he's tried to counsel God many times, and so have I, but he doesn't listen to our counsel. No. Have you noticed that? Yeah. And we have to trust that God is sovereign. And if this is his ministry, he has a right to do with it what he wants to. He has really preserved this ministry. Our supporters have protected this ministry, even though 80% of our staff had to be furloughed, and when we think of all the things we had to cut back on, but it's enabled us to do lots of new things and head in some special directions like Answers.tv and so on, our new streaming service.
Doing a lot of these Facebook
A lot
programs.
of programs like this. I think people have gotten to know us more, even see more inside the ministry than they've ever seen before doing this. So I think it's been good. That's been good for people, and it's been good for us to be able to do that. So I believe the Lord especially preserved this ministry because the way in which our supporters have rallied to support us financially and prayerfully has been astounding. But there's a lot of hills to climb yet. You know, I sort of reminded the Israelites, the miracle of crossing the Red Sea and the miracle of crossing the Jordan River. But they had to go battle Jericho, they had to battle Ai, they had to battle giants. I'd like to see some peace in the land, but I fear it's just one ongoing battle. This ministry has been one ongoing battle for 40 plus years. And I guess it's just going to continue that way because we're in a war. And sometimes I just wish there was a little peace in the land. And we've had those times when, you know, things go well, because when things are going great, I say to myself, okay, what's the next valley? Because it just seems to always be that way.
Okay, understand. Well, several questions I've thrown at you there. Ken, wasn't too painful, was it?
Yeah, it was okay.
Kind of bared your soul a little bit.
Well, a little bit.
Especially with the restaurant questions.
Yeah.
All right.
What did I say? Did I say Mexican? Thai?
Yes, eventually, but I had to really pry that out of you.
Yeah, but Australian meat pies would be top
I
of the
knew you
list.
were going to, yeah, I got you some recently. Are they pretty good?
They're okay.
They're because they're made in Georgia.
They're made in Georgia, so they're sort of okay.
They have a Georgia air to them as opposed to the Australian air, I
Yeah,
guess.
not the Australian fresh ones straight out of the oven.
Well, I hope the people watching have gotten to know you a little bit better, catch a glimpse into your
They're
personal
probably all
life.
confused. I am now.
Yeah. And then again, my vote is for Marmite over Vegemite. But
Your vote doesn't count.
any concluding comments here? Because after all, this is your program, and I've kind of hijacked it here. Any final words as we sign off?
Any final words as we sign off? You know, this reminds me of the old days when you used to interview me on the radio station. But you were much younger then.
We're talking the 1980s.
Yeah, you had more hair then.
Yeah. Well, working
Did
with
you know I've known Mark longer than he's known his wife?
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
you before you
we've been
met
married
her.
over 35 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we sort of know each other pretty well.
Yeah, most of these answers here I could have guessed, but you did surprise me with a couple of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
well, I hope people recognize some people have to get used to the fact of our Australian sense of humour. So sometimes they don't know how to take me. But I think you can pretty well read me, can't you?
Right.
Most times.
Yeah. Well, some people have that misconception that you're so forceful about biblical authority, you're so bold about it. Do you have a sense of humor? Well, he watches Doctor Who, so he obviously
You didn't ask me
has
what one of my hobbies is.
Is it a board game?
Playing cribbage.
That's right.
My father taught me cribbage.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of my questions
In
here.
fact,
but your answers were so long.
Tommy Mitchell used to be my cribbage partner.
Our late dear friend.
Yeah, and now I'm trying to find some other cribbage partners.
Don't look at me.
No, well, you couldn't play a board game.
It's about 51%
It
luck with cribbage.
49% chance, but 51% of the champions, 51%.
Let me write this down.
What I should say is this. The champions win 51% of their games. So there is,
A little bit of skill.
it's because it's 2%, it's incredible skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else,
Okay.
Ken?
No, nothing else that I can think of. Come visit us sometime.
All right. Bye-bye.